It is now 8 a.m. and I will call to order the February 5th, 2019 meeting of Whitley County Council. And if you would please stand with me to honor our country with reciting of the national anthem. We pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now I would offer anybody who would like to the opportunity to sing the national anthem, since I did mention it. Is there any takers on that? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Looks like our first item on the agenda today is Sheriff Gatton, please.
Morning, Mark Gatton, Whitley County Sheriff's Department. Did everybody get a chance to see the additional packet that was sent to you?
I did. You did a nice job.
I would like to take credit for that, but Jason did most of that for me, Bill.
I'll pass on. You did a good job.
That just showed some of the additional savings that we can have with an extra officer, but I want everybody to at least hear, not only do I feel for the overtime savings, I just feel that we need another one for additional help. Released on January 2nd, 2019, this year. In 2018, at least 159 officers died by suicide. That's 9% more than the total number of line of duty deaths last year. So they haven't released exactly, they're trying to study, this was released by Blue Health. They're trying to study on what possibly caused these suicides, but they did point a lot to a high level of stress. Just thought I'd pass it on to you. Any questions on the two packets? And then Jana passed out the LOA. Did everybody have a chance to review that? If you have any questions, I'd request those get directed to Jana.
I understand your need for another deputy, and it bothers me that we're not the full force, there are jailers that the state sees we should have. It seems to me that opens the door to a lawsuit for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think together we've all worked really diligently to continue to add to the jail, and we're making some small changes inside the jail with those new tables and such to try to help eliminate some of that. So I think we're moving in a positive direction.
And this is a step in that direction, I think. That being said, I would move we approve his request.
I have a motion to approve the hiring of an additional
Yeah.
deputy,
Yeah.
Second.
and I have a second. Any further discussion?
I do have a question about the nature of the motion. Are we approving this whether this is someone who is already trained through the state academy, or only if it's someone who's trained through the academy as was proposed?
It's my understanding that this was brought forth because you had a qualified candidate that has already graduated from the Law Enforcement Academy. I don't know that our decision today is going to be solely based on whether or not the person has that certification or not, although what you have shown to us and what you bring forward today is a cost savings based on that, and that's how a lot of it had been weighed out. I think it's a great question, because I think there is a possibility that you go back and you offer this position now that it's been approved. Maybe the person doesn't take it, maybe they do. So then I think it's a fair question to figure out now, where are we at and what are the expectations of the sheriff if the person with the qualifications decides to not accept the offer? Are we still in the position that we are going to approve this position, or are we going to approve it under the conditions of what the sheriff has brought forth as far as the savings?
So, if in fact one of the already qualified candidates does not accept a position, do you have another candidate in line at this point that you feel you would like to hire?
We have had some in the past, yes. What I would do, if it didn't work out as we spoke the last time, I would open it up, the whole process again. We did have 2 other applicants that were certified through the state of Indiana. try out. One withdrew later in the process for a personal reason, and the other just didn't make it through one of the testing, but I'm sure those two would probably return and attempt again.
You're pretty sure about the one you want?
I have not spoken since before the last meeting, so I haven't checked in. I just figured I'd let it go until today and then see, but I feel positive about it, yes.
And just because if there's a position approved, you're not going to fill it unless you're really happy with the candidates, right?
Correct.
Didn't want to make an assumption that, I think based on the other numbers, and if in fact these fundings do not come out of county general, I would think that the motion should be that we approve the new position, whether it's someone who's already certified or not, is the way that I would look at it.
I agree with that. I don't think that we should be telling the sheriff who to hire. He's the guy that's got to work with him. He's the one that has to, I'm sure he's not going to hire someone he can't work with.
And I think you're exactly correct, and I would never infer that we were trying to control who the sheriff hired or not hired. I'm simply making sure that we are all under the same understanding. And my opinion on it is that even though that the sheriff is showing a cost savings and using that as quite a bit of his reasoning for hiring this position, I think that that is a short-term expense anyway, and I think that the county in general is short on the number of deputies that we should have. So I think that with the motion that was made to approve this additional position, regardless of whether this person takes it or whether the sheriff has to move on, which should not be of our concern as much as just giving the sheriff the approval to fill an additional position.
Agreed.
So I do have a motion, and I have a second I would call again. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. At this time, all those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and let it be shown that it was passed unanimously with all members that are present. And also, I would, just for the record, state that I hadn't had conversation with Councilman Barrett, and he was in favor of it also. Not that that accounts towards the vote, but you got your vote anyway, so we're good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So really quick, this is for the addition, but then we also need this salary ordinance amendment because it's going to be the actual.
Yep.
So
So the next order of business then would be for a salary ordinance amendment to pay this position. So I would call for a motion on that at this time.
This comes out of the Lowett tax?
It's coming from Lowett.
Yeah.
I move that we approve the appropriation or ordinance. Is there
Salary ordinance
Is there a
amendment.
salary ordinance number?
You don't have a number on it.
There's no
Is there a
numbers
number
on
for
those,
it?
right?
there is, but I cannot think. It's just amending, well, you guys did it at the last meeting, so it's 2019-01.
2019.
I think we had a 2019-01 last meeting, didn't we? Wouldn't this be 02?
That was the salary, that was the ordinance that you approved, was
But this is an amendment to it, so it's the
Yes.
same.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So amending 2019-01. Yep.
So I move that we approve the amendment to 2019-01.
The motion, I call for a second.
Second.
Councilman Warner on the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same. Let it be shown it was passed unanimously with all board members that are present.
Right, 2 weeks.
2 pages, about 2 pages, so. And that's what this was.
Was the request and the actual amendment.
Oh, no, not that one. That was what this one was. Did you have anything else, Sheriff?
No, I was going to talk to George after the meeting, so.
Next item on the agenda is Commissioner Schrumpf, please.
Okay, I'm going to postpone my request. We were going to request a transition from part-time to full-time for our assistant, for HR, and for the commissioners, but we don't have the information, the complete amount of information from WIS at this point, and I don't want to present it to you without having the information. So it will be postponed until the March meeting if we could.
would that then also postpone the auditor's request to make their position full-time?
I was actually going to go ahead and still request it today, so.
Is this full-time person working in your office now?
Yeah.
I mean, part-time person working in,
Yeah.
and this is the person you want to make full-time? But I think you got,
I would like to say that during our meeting yesterday for the commissioners, that we approved taking the file management job has been under the clerk for, I don't know, 10, 11, maybe 10 or 11 years.
Since Paula Reimers
Okay,
left.
yeah, so probably 12, 13 years. But the clerk has asked that since they're in the courthouse, it's very difficult for them to control file management to help if there's part-time people that need to fill in or anything, that they've requested that the commissioners take over file management. And in talking with Jana, she's agreed to take on file management, the administration of that. So we agreed to turn file management administration over to the auditor's office, and that's part of this, that they'll be needing an additional part-time person.
So with that, what the plan is we've talked, and really someone needs to be down in file management 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Because we have people that come in before and people that come in after when she's not here. And then, they get upset. So rather than having one full-time person, I will take one of the part-time people in my office and move them down to file management with Mary. So it'll have full coverage Monday through Friday instead of the part-time that it has now with 2 part-time people. So that opens up, us having one less, half a person upstairs. So I figured that would kind of roll into making this position, the payroll assistant position, full-time.
Part of that's caused by the things you have to do to get a driver's license anymore, am I correct?
So what does all file management do? What, all kinds of files from the courthouse, from here to
The entire
any file the county has, they bank that or whatever,
Yep, and we
put it in the right place?
Yep, and every paper, everything that we have all has a retention schedule.
Okay.
So as soon as that expires, that retention is over, the records are destroyed. Some of them are permanent. It just depends on what it is and what the state sends out as a retention schedule.
So at this point, you're asking us to approve moving, I guess I should form it as a question. Are you asking us to move a clerk, part-time employee, to you at this point? No?
Nope, I'm moving one of my part-time people down to file management with Mary, but file management will be under me per the commissioners as of yesterday.
But that's not what's being approved. The
the approval
approval is
is,
for
right.
the current
Right.
full-time person that's part-time in the auditor's office and part-time down here with me to have that position become full-time, which it's currently full-time, but full-time in the auditor's office. Yes.
So by adding that, if we chase our tail here, by adding that responsibility to you, that's taking that half person essentially away from you,
Correct.
which you need. So
Correct.
then we'll look at replacing that
As a full-time position.
as a full-time position.
Next meeting.
So is the clerk's office giving up something?
Not at this point that I know of.
Are they going to be overstaffed?
I'm not sure on that one.
I don't know why they would, because
Because Mary
Mary
is
is-
just transitioning under another department. Okay. So then my next question would be then, maybe you can talk about it, maybe you can't, but why wouldn't we just push forward with all of this at once, or what's holding you back? Because essentially, if we approve it for her, it's going to be an automatic approval for
To be
you,
honest
pretty
about
much.
it, the reason, we're not sure of the pay scale, what the pay rate would be for the new position, and I'd rather not bring it to you and say, well, it could be this or it could be this. We'd like to have it approved as a Comet
As a
level,
PAT.
or it's a PAT level 1, which is 39,000.
I'd have to grab
Yeah.
them.
I didn't have the information here, but
And currently, the position is that y'all have in that area, part-time, is based at 36,730,
Right, right.
and you're looking for the
And that's a
39.
level 3, I think, and we want to take it to a level 1, because it's going to be working, that position is going to be working probably 70-80% with HR, and then the commissioners also need someone now, because we've got so much going on that we really need someone available. And I think, Tom kind of got a taste of that the other day. He came in and was working with us, and there's a lot going on right now that we're,
Part of it's just to make sure that there's some full-time, that the records are open 24 hours a day for people who have to get
yeah.
Stuff
But this
to
is
get
for
it
our
verified.
position, for our HR and for the commissioners would be
Yeah.
completely separate from that.
But it's all.
Yeah,
tied
it's all
together.
related, right, right. But if you would approve it as a Pat 1, at,
That's that one.
okay, so it'd be a Pat,
This is
I'd
the
rather
comp.
wait till we know
Okay.
what it is. I'd rather wait till we know exactly what it
and
is.
I would feel more comfortable to make sure where WIS hits it.
Just don't approve something you don't know.
Yeah,
I think it'd be pretty appropriate to probably table everything. You've got the employee in place that you're essentially going to be using anyway.
I just came before you guys because it was already on the agenda and we already know what she's gonna make.
Yep.
So I didn't see.
really separate items is what
Right.
it truly.
I'm not disagreeing the hire, I'm just disagreeing, we need to know what we're paying.
And I totally agree. That's why I really didn't want to bring it to you right now, because I want you to be able to digest it too before we do anything.
So this would have been brought as two separate amendments anyway.
Yes.
So we could act on the first amendment today, and that doesn't change anything.
We would ask that you would,
Okay.
because we did put the additional duties on the auditor with that yesterday in that position that she's now directing file management.
Does file management have like posted office hours currently,
They do.
and they're just not sufficient?
They're just not there full-time. They're not there 8 to 4:30.
But people can't work within the posted office hours?
Well, people, people come after work, people come before work, and there's no one down there, and, then we have to call Cindy or something, she's too busy, she can't come over, so we just put it under me, so we're in the same building, and we're gonna cover it full-time. Because we've talked about it, and it needs to be staffed full-time, just because there's such a need for it, so. And it's birth certificates, wedding,
Well, it definitely needs to be manned 24.
Yeah, right now,
Full-time.
Chad, with that new star, or that new security that they have for the driver's licenses, if someone has been married a couple of times, they have to go down to file management, they have to get all the paperwork for their divorces, for their weddings. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, and that probably, it'll fall off eventually, but it'll be, the end of 2020 before that will fall off. But, at that time, we probably should look at it again. But right now, it needs to be open for people to be able to provide the information that they need.
So what the question comes down to today is the council going to fund an additional position, splitting the part-time workers up in the two departments now and giving essentially each office a full-time position. And if we do that, or if we follow through on the first part today, we're just essentially agreeing that we are going to, it's just going to be then left up to what we are going to agree to as a salary for the commissioner's position, which they are requesting or looking into bringing back at a higher rate than what it's being paid now. So we would still have that decision to make if we move forward, but if we move forward on it today, then we're pretty much locked into approving that position. It's just going to be, the rate of pay is what will be, still have to be decided.
Because the rate of pay is, what they're doing now is just part-time pay, and when we move them to a full-time employee, then that's the next pay scale then.
Well, their
That's
pay is
what-
based at this time on a full-time position, and it's just divided.
Oh, okay.
So the rate is there for what the job is that they're doing, and that's standardized.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily a part-time rate that will convert to a full-time rate. It's just that the position
So we're paying for
conceivably could
one, and we're
factor
gonna
out
add another,
differently. Yes.
actually. Okay,
We're basically what you're doing it for the current position, it's paid out of two different department budget lines.
okay,
What you guys are considering right now is having it come out of one budget line that falls under the auditor, and that current person that's working full-time will work entirely under the auditor,
okay,
not fall in the commissioners at all.
okay.
And then next month, we'll come and ask for another full-time position to assist the commissioners.
And what fund will that come out of?
The commissioners,
Just out of the commission, okay.
correct. Right now, it's half commissioners, half auditors
So essentially,
for
it's
the
that
full-time.
half-time position that we're approving for the auditor.
Yeah, it's technically already a full-time position, but it's split, and now it's just going to be in my office, and then they'll be back next
I
month.
will ask for a full-time person in March.
Does she have to be refactored in, since she's going to be strictly in her office, and
Then-
duties change?
The new person the new position for commissioners will need to be factored. That's why we're waiting till March, because Wagner Irwin Shealy's already working on that. But the current staffed position will not need to be refactored for the payroll assistant.
And what are the additional duties that you all are refactoring your assistant's position for?
That's what we're still working with Wagner Irwin Shealy on, to get the specifics of that job description.
It's going to be kind of a combination coordinator or HR assistant is what it's going to be, because, we haven't truly, Angie's been so busy with HR that the commissioners really need somebody to work with us, and then she needs an assistant also to help with her. So probably 20% of the time with commissioners, 80% of the time with HR.
But you anticipate it factoring out higher?
Yes, we do.
Just because of the education.
Yeah.
Not just because, but we
The sensitivity
are going to-
of what this person will be working with as an HR person.
I make a motion that we approve the position for the auditor's office and amend the salary ordinance to that effect.
Do I have the copy for that? Is this just my copy?
You should have it.
I have a motion.
A second.
Motion by Councilman Comfer and second by Councilman Overdeer. I will call for further discussion. Hearing none, we will go to the vote. All those in favor of the motion, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. And let it be shown that it was passed unanimously with all board members that are present.
One just additional informational question. Will the clerk's budget then be reduced by the amount of this employee? So then we'll have to approve a transfer?
Yes,
Okay.
it'll be transferred to my budget.
So it's
So we
essentially
approve
going to
this.
cost us nothing.
Correct.
Thank you.
But we still need to do the salary ordinance amendment.
He approved the amendment in his motion. Right,
Okay.
yep, I think we're good.
You think you'll have the new back in a month?
We'll make sure that we do.
And then the other will be tabled at the request of the commissioner.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And that brings us right back to you, sir.
Okay, not a lot to report right now. We've got a lot going on. First thing I had was a request for postponing the transition, so we're all set there. I just wanted to let you know that we have approved in our meeting yesterday a contract with Department of Child Services and that would be expanding child services into the annex building, and that would require that we spend $120,000 on upgrades to that building, but the contract is a 10-year contract. We right now are charging $2,300 a month for that half of the building. They've agreed for a $6,000 payment per month for the total building. We'll be moving extension probably to a building to be determined. We haven't solidified that yet, so I can't report to you where the extension will go. We talked about maybe a building at the Forage Fairgrounds, but I think we've got other alternatives at this point, and we'll report that to you in the March meeting. So I would ask you to consider the $120,000 for the upgrades to the annex building, which would make it agreeable to DCS to approve their part of the contract.
And the pay schedule for the additional rent that they will be paying will more than cover that expenditure over the 10 years.
It's $120,000, but at this point, the 10-year contract is worth $720,000. And I think we came out with a good agreement on that.
The general fund got the money to do it.
And all that, the rent money goes right back into general fund.
We'll call for a motion at this time to allow those renovations to be made.
There's, if I may, there's going to be additional expenses then when we move.
It'll be minimal
Their
because the
extension.
building that we're looking at is pretty well set up that, at this point, Councilman, that it's probably going to $15,000-$20,000, but we were going to ask for CEDA monies to do that, to
Perfect.
upgrade that.
Can that not be taken out of cum cap?
Sure.
Would it be better to take it out of cum cap and then take it out of the county general? That's what cum cap's there for.
Yeah. That would be proper.
I think extension certainly needs more space, and I get DCS needing more space as well.
Yeah, the parking area was pretty bad.
When I just quickly ran through the numbers, it makes sense to me. I'm in favor of this. I would move that we approve it.
And the money be taken out of cum cap.
Yes, and I in my motion, I would request the money be taken from cum cap.
I will second that motion.
Did we have a motion before that? Has somebody made a motion, or had I called for a motion?
You
and
had
then-
called for a motion, I interrupted you.
Thank you. I appreciate that because my memory didn't recall. So I do have a motion, and we have a second. Would there be any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and let it be shown that it was passed unanimously with all board members that are present.
Okay, next I'll have, we're going to be, the commissioners will be asking council to meet with us this month sometime, and we'll work with everybody's schedule on this to have a joint commissioner-council meeting, and it'll be in discussion of employee issues at this point. It's an executive session, I can't go into detail, but it will be employee issues. So we're asking everyone to consider during the month.
I'm not sure when Councilman Barrett is back. Is it going to be timely enough that we can wait for his schedule?
I would like to have everything done a couple of weeks before your next meeting, so that, because it will make, that will have to be in consideration at that point. So I'll send an email out to everyone and maybe a request or a doodle poll to see what everybody is available. And we're agreeable even to a weekend if we have to do something like that, whatever we have to do, but it's going to be needed. Again, we've got a lot of opportunities that we have to deal with, and we want to make sure that the council is aware of everything that's going on before we go any further. Also, I'm going to make you aware at this point that we're going to be asking for consideration of the jail income tax. We have to go to the legislature to get that, but it has to be approved by council for that. And with a lot of the moves that we're making for corrections to make sure that we don't get, that the commissioners and the council don't end up in federal court, we need to deal with that. And I think it's a great opportunity for us because eventually we're going to need a new jail anyway. But we're looking at working with community corrections at this point to relieve the jail overcrowding.
George, do you have any information on that income tax, on what the rate would be or how it would affect the normal or the average taxpayer?
The rate would be 0.2%. It would be the same rate that our CEDAT program is. But all of that jail tax would go to replacement of jail or correctional facilities. And that, I had UMBA do a report on that, and it's about 1.6 million per year. We're very fortunate in Whitley County that we've got a good work group and a lot of businesses, a lot of manufacturing, and so it'll be, and that's the reason I wanted to present it to you now. It gives you a whole month to review that, to see what your thoughts are, and ask any questions that you need to ask of us before we come to you and ask for that. Because it's a big jump. A lot of the counties are doing that right now because I don't know how many counties have got the letter that we have to deal with our overcrowding, but
Is that tax going to be a deal breaker for what the plans are that you would share with us?
no, not at all.
Okay.
That's in conjunction
Okay.
with what we need to look at.
Is it .2 or is it .02?
It's actually 2%, 0.02% is
Okay.
what it is. Right.
When you see published reports about a tax addition, it always says it costs a $100,000 homeowner so much. Do you know those
Yeah.
kind of numbers at this point?
I don't have that now.
Okay.
UMBA is working on that. They just gave me a total of what we would have right now, but I do have UMBA working on that. The commissioners wanted to make sure that, again, we don't want to present anything without having all the information to you and making sure that you've got an opportunity to review it.
And George, that was an income, that wouldn't be based.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
It's
that's
it's not a
income
real
tax,
estate
not-
tax.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
an
sorry.
income.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Makes it a lot easier to explain to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right now, we're not even close to our maximum on tax rate. I think we're 1.4 right now, something like that. And we're one of the lowest around, to be honest about it. But it's going to be needed. We've got to look at the future. We've got to look at, jail issues. The jail probably within 10 to 15 years is going to need to be truly looked at if we can stretch it out 10 to 15 years. But if we do what we're looking at, we should be able to relieve the pressure on the jail.
We're in a position, we have to do something, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
It's either that or build another jail, which I'm not interested in doing. Sorry.
We've
about
got a
that.
lot of great opportunities right now. We've got funding sources available that we would never have had available previously. And my thought is we need to take advantage of the additional funding.
It's just hard to sell a tax increase sometimes, you know?
And I
And that's
totally
why
understand.
That's why I want to make sure that, with what you're working on, that it could still be possible if,
The
If this is
alternative to
not
that
possible.
is a new jail at, it's a referendum at 45 million rather than 5 to 10 million.
Yep.
It's,
well, I get that, it's pay now or pay later, and
or
and we
lawsuits.
control the,
And we're very fortunate that we haven't had any lawsuits because it's not a good situation when you're overcrowded. And the sheriff and jailers and Jason have done a great job at this point, but, we can't count on luck. That's all I have.
good, anybody have questions of George, please? Thank you for that, George. That would bring us then to the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? And at this time, I would ask, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were presented to you?
Make a motion to approve as read.
I'll second.
A motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same, and let it be shown the minutes were passed unanimously with all board members that are present. Is there anybody else in the audience today that has an issue or business for this body? Or anything for the good of the cause? He's not on my agenda.
I know, because he sent them to me last week, but I think he sent you an email.
Nathan, do you have something for us today?
Well, I figured if you didn't want to talk about it, we...
I'm sorry, sir, it was not on my agenda, that's why I was calling.
No, it's okay. Just a quick update on the BZA appointment, which you may have gotten some letters of interest from 2 people. It was a little late, that's why it wasn't on the agenda. At this point, I continue to receive more interested inquiries. Last week, had someone who was interested, actually from the city, so they were disqualified, and just yesterday had another person who, at the commissioners' meeting, expressed interest as well. So my recommendation at this point, since we're continuing to have interest, is give another 2 weeks, and then any remaining letters I'll give to you for next month, unless you feel strongly about these 2 nominees.
I think we have 2 great candidates, but I'd be interested in seeing who else has interest before I made a decision.
I would too. I'd like to see who else is interested. And again, they're 2 pretty good at it.
I think we better wait and see who else wants in for a chance at it, yeah.
We'll get, if that's the consensus, I'll get you the, any remaining letters of interest.
Yeah.
Do we have a deadline posted? Is there like any line drawn?
No, there will be now, because, there is a deadline now, it's your packet deadline. But up until this point, it was just submitted.
So we'll have a 2-week window for you to complete that and any additional people then,
Yep.
to meet our packet deadline.
Worst case, we have 2 qualified candidates.
Very good.
So is this informational, or do we need to move to table it?
I would look at it at this point as informational. There's not been a request necessarily made.
Wasn't on the agenda. Thank you.
Did I get the right agenda? I didn't see it on my agenda. I apologize for not
No,
recognizing it.
it wasn't. It came in late, and I just was going to...
And I have that with my
Info
stuff.
update, if you wanted.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
I had sent the agenda out to you guys before I got those from Nathan, so.
Okay. Anything else, please, for the good of the cause? Anyone, please?
I do have this transfer, so, if you guys want to do that now, or we can wait, but since it goes along with my request. And can we also, you guys do have to put an effective date to it, and I am requesting that it be the beginning of the next, well, actually, yeah, the February 10th, so next Sunday.
Does that coincide exactly with the pay period?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. I think we made sure it did.
Okay, so you're asking us for approval on two items, the first being that we need to put a date to what we've already approved, and you're asking that the date be, again,
February 10th.
February 10th for the difference in switching the people from one salary, or from one department to another. So I would ask for a motion for the February 10th deadline to be attached to the approval that we had earlier for the full-time, or for the additional half-time position, which essentially makes it a full-time position for the auditor's department. Of February 10th.
So moved.
Councilman Overdeer with the motion. I would ask for a second, please. Vice Chair Banks with the second. All those, I would call for further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand, and opposed the same. And it passed unanimously with all members present. Then that would bring us to a transfer resolution then of $22,000. And help me out here, it says from records management clerk to records management clerk.
Location's
numbers.
different.
Okay, yep, it's
Oh,
going
sorry.
from 1,000.11900, it's going from 102, from 101 to 102 for $22,000. And that would support the additional position, the half position that you asked for.
Well, that would be putting the file management clerk under my department rather than the clerk. Yep.
Right, okay,
For
I'm with you.
budget.
Yep.
So moved.
Councilman Comfer made a motion, second, please.
Second.
Vice Chair Banks on the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand, and opposed the same. Let it be shown it was passed unanimously with all members that are present. Councilman Overdeer.
Nothing.
Councilman Comfort.
Nothing to add.
Councilman Warner. Councilman Wheeler.
I would like to say thank you to the county commissioners for the 2 days that they called off due to the weather. I thought that was an outstanding decision, George, you guys made.
Thank you.
I think for the better of the workforce here in the government building, and I know the deputies and the highway department, I know you guys were out, but I think overall, I think that was a very good choice of opinions to do that, so I applaud you and the commissioners.
Do you know when he's gonna hire someone? What do you
Yeah,
think?
just wait. Vice Chair Banks?
Nothing to add.
I have nothing else. I would call this meeting adjourned at 8:43. Thank you.